Hello, I am so excited to be doing an IG Live. I hope you will join me. We're going to be doing some exercises for happy hips. So hip strengthening for your butt mostly, and some hip mobility to get the hips out of hip flexion, which is when we're sitting all the time. Hey Melissa, hey Nemsit. Hi friends, we're doing some hip movements here. So I hope you'll join me if you're at work or if you're at home sitting. Get up and get some movement in. We're going to be moving for about 5 to 10 minutes, not too long. And this just gives you an opportunity to get your hips out of sitting, which is what we do too much of every single day. If you have any questions at any time, just post it in the chat box. I want you to stand up. We're going to start with some hip mobility. And the first thing we're going to do are hip swings. So you're going to hang on to the wall for balance if you need to, and you're going to swing your leg front and back, going as far as you'd like. You can keep it low down here, or you can do higher kicks if that feels good for you. And your goal is to just get that hip into extension as well as flexion. So get some blood flow through the hip joint. The hip is actually the biggest joint in our body. And when we're sitting all day, there's a lot of stagnating. I like using the word stagnating, blood and lymph flow. And so getting up and getting your hips moving alone can give you more energy and make you feel like you're moving. Hey Tisha, moving your body, or just give you more alertness too. We're doing 10 per leg, hip swings, front and back. And this is one of the very simple hip mobility exercises that you can do. If you have been sitting a long time, you can do this also going in and out, which is what we're going to be doing next. You're going to be facing, again, the wall or holding on to something like your chair. And you can do some hip swings in and out to get the inner leg and the inner thigh and the outer hip stretched out. And again, you're not doing a passive stretch. You're doing a mobility exercise for that hip, going in and out, letting that leg swing, going as high as you want. Of course, if you really want to go for it, you can kick up really high, but not needed right now. The goal is just movement, not flexibility. And then we're gonna follow this up with some strength exercises that you can do with zero equipment. And if you have equipment handy like dumbbells, you can also use your equipment to do it. Hi friends. We're doing a live, getting some hip movements in. I have had a few questions from you about glute strength. I talk about glute strength a lot because when your glutes are strong, it also helps to support your lower back, it supports your pelvic floor, it supports your whole body. I think the glutes are sometimes some of the weakest exercises. Hey Jess, or not exercises, the glutes are sometimes really weak, and when we tend to sit all day or even during pregnancy and postpartum, and what ends up happening is the load ends up going onto our pelvic floors or our lower back, so strengthening the glutes can really help. So far we've done 2 mobility exercises, hip swings going front and back, and hip swings going in and out. Okay, and then the last one we're doing, we're just gonna warm up by doing some lateral lunges. So you're gonna have your legs wide apart, and you're gonna side shift. So I'm just sitting into my hip, bringing my hips back. And if you look at me from the side, thank you so much for this. I've been struggling with a really sore back. Awesome, Jules. So, well, not awesome that you're struggling with the lower back, but I hope this is helpful for you. Because all of these moves should be okay for your lower back. You can always restrict your range of motion. If going really deep into your hip hurts, just do a shorter stance and a shorter movement. And your goal is to sit your hips back as if you're sitting in a chair as you go backward, feeling a nice stretch in the inner thighs. So you're going to do 10 reps per leg. And so movements like this are part of my base fitness membership, which is a monthly subscription. You get a new workout each week. And this is something like the warm-up looks like. 10 of all. Yeah, just do about 10 of all. I might be doing more than 10 because I'm chatting at the same time, but 10 per direction. And then we're gonna finish with some hip circles before we move on to strengthening, right? So 10 times in one direction and 10 times in the other. Hey friends, I know I love hip swings. I find that we don't do hip swings enough. It just feels so good. It also, when we do hip swings, they provide a bit of traction to the hip. So what traction means is when you've got your hip joint, there's a socket and there's a ball. And when you're swinging it, it actually pulls the ball away from the socket, like a few millimeters, and it creates space inside your joint. So when you're sitting all day and everything's crunched up, creating a bit of space allows for more movement, and it actually feels really nice too. This is one of the exercises we give to people with arthritis too, the hip swings. So you're doing some hip circles and 10 per direction. This also helps with pelvic floor mobility as well. Think about breathing and getting those nice deep breaths in throughout that movement. How's everyone doing? How are you doing? Brianna, Melissa, Jules, Tisha, JP, Jess, Brianna. We're gonna move on to strengthening, because I wanna give you some simple strengthening exercises you can do. We're gonna do 3 of them, and these are all for your glutes. The first one are squats. We're doing squats every day. When you get up off the toilet, your chair, your bed, you're squatting. You're squatting anyway, so you might as well repeat it, right? So you're gonna stand up nice and tall, and you're gonna sit down as if you're sitting in a chair, and then you're gonna stand back up. Pelvic floor and core, what are they doing here? If you have no pelvic floor core issues, you can just squat as normal, but would love for you to save it. I will definitely try to save it unless Instagram glitches. It hasn't done that for me yet, but I know it's happened to some of my friends, so I will intend to save it though for you. And so when you inhale, you're gonna deep breath in, or when you sit down, you're gonna deep breath in, and as you stand up, you're gonna exhale. When you inhale to sit down, you're gonna relax your belly, relax, open up your butt cheeks and your pelvic floor, exhale to stand up. We're gonna do 10 of these. Make sure that as you stand back up, you're not like thrusting your hips forward or tucking your butt under, you're just coming back to standing, right? The goal is to pretend you're standing up from a chair. You can even have a little step stool here, or a yoga block, or a low chair as a target, so that you're sitting down and standing up from that target. You can go your full range of motion. It's okay for your knees to cross your toes. It's okay for your back to bend a little bit. But the goal here is still sending your hips down to the floor and coming back up as far as you're comfortable, based on your knees and your lower back and everything else. I know Instagram can be funny with that, with saving things. So how does that feel? So inhale, relax, blossom the butt cheeks. Exhale, draw your core in slightly as you stand. If you are not pregnant or postpartum, don't worry about that core cue as much, because your body is naturally going to turn on your muscles when it needs to. Sometimes I find overthinking the movements can actually make it harder. So inhale down, exhale up. With my legs, I just have them positioned about wider than hip width apart. You might be more comfortable with your legs narrower or legs wider, toes pointing straight or slightly out. Whatever's comfortable for your body is the key. So you can do squats also when you're picking up your baby up off the floor. You can do squats when you pick up a toy that's fallen, emptying the dishwasher, right? Reaching down. Any type of reaching down movement, picking up your laundry basket, you can squat. How does that exercise feel for you? Hi friends, we're doing some glute exercises for strengthening. We've just gone through a hip warm up, and I will save this for you if you missed the first bit. And we're doing we just finished with squats. The next thing I'm going to show you are deadlifts. So with deadlifts are a hip hinge movement. So you're just going to send your hips back and stand back up. If I was to drill a hole between this hip and that hip, it's like I'm tipping over around that axis. What I'm doing with my knees, I'm letting them slightly bend, keeping my back nice and long, not folded over, and coming back up. Do you feel lifting pelvic floor for hypertonic pelvic floors? No, I don't. Because hypertonic pelvic floors will generally tend to be more active in general in terms of their pelvic floors. And muscles know how to turn on better than they know how to turn off. So I like to really cue relaxation. When we start from a relaxed muscle, like down in your squat, it's more likely that the muscle will be able to support you in the amount that you need. If you're starting off clenched the entire way, it can actually result in pain, leaking, more symptoms of prolapse, right? So think about if you're somebody who has a hypertonic or more tense, think about that Inhale, relax you. So with deadlifts, same thing. You're gonna inhale, relax, blossom that butt cheek, let go of the pelvic floor, and then stand back up, right? So inhale, relax. You can slide your hands down your legs. Of course, if you have weights, you can carry weights, but right now I want it to be as accessible as possible, so we're doing no weights. This is a nice movement break option. And people will say, like, will I strengthen without weights? Yes, if you're doing this and you're not doing more, or you're not doing any movement right now, adding more movement will help you strengthen. Obviously, we do want to lift weights if we can to get true strength and power built, but sometimes you just need a quick movement break in the middle of your day, and doing 10 of these can feel really, really nice for your glutes and your hamstrings. Now, if you're feeling this in your lower back, make sure your back is nice and tall, and don't go down as far. You might have to stop mid-shin instead of going all the way down to your ankles or the floor, and that's okay. Work within the range of motion that feels comfortable for you, and remember to inhale, exhale as you stand. I like the analogy of, like, if you have a door that's open behind you, you're just doing this to kind of shut the door with your bum. That's a good analogy. I think I saw it used by Sohi Fit. So now you've done squats and deadlifts, and of course if you add weight with either, or if you're holding your baby and you're doing some hip hinges with your baby, that can feel really nice, supporting their head depending on their age. You can do squats with your baby. Deadlifts are a very functional exercise. What I mean by that is when you are moving through life, picking up toys off the floor, picking up your socks, anything where you're bending over and picking something up, instead of doing it like this all the time, try to switch it up and use that deadlift strategy where your knees are slightly bent, sending those hips back and picking it up. That allows your glutes to work more throughout the day rather than only working when you're setting aside time for your exercises. Okay? And then the last of the 3 exercises that I wanted to give going on. Hopefully my battery persists. But the last of the exercises we're going to do are sideways. So we've talked about squats and deadlifts. They both work glute max and a bit of hamstrings and quads. Now we're going to do side kicks. So you're going to stand up nice and tall. You're going to kick your leg out sideways and slightly back. You can do this lying down on your side on the floor. It makes it even harder. But for ease and convenience, we're going to do it standing. If you have a loop resistance band, you can tie it around your thighs. I love my Nodora bands for that. And that provides even more resistance. This you want to feel in your side butt. So here again, you're inhaling, exhale to kick. Inhale to bring it back, exhale to kick. And we're doing 10 reps per side, and I actually feel it, even without any resistance. And I'm just standing up tall, so showing you the front view. I'm just standing up nice and tall. And I'm starting to sweat here just from doing, and I say just from doing body weight, but I don't want you to discount body weight exercises because they can still feel like a good challenge. And I think that we so worry about like perfect workouts and 45-minute workouts, but I really like to break it apart into chunks if you can and get them in during your day. I had mentioned my base fitness membership. It's designed to do in like 3 separate chunks if that's all you have time for. So I have superset A, I have lower body. Superset B, I have upper body. And then I have a core circuit, core and glutes. So if you're like, oh, I have 10 minutes here before my kids get home or before I have to leave, I'm gonna do one of those circuits and that's my workout. And it still feels like you're getting a bit of a successful movement in your day without feeling like you have to set aside too much time. And 10 reps on this side, and we'll finish with a stretch. How does that feel? How's that side one feeling for you? Let me know, please, if you have any symptoms through that at all. And if you had to leave the live and you're watching it later, just send me a message. Let me know how it feels. I want it to make sure that it feels good for you. Good, I'm glad to hear that, Brianna. So you are gonna grab a cushion if you need to, or you can get onto the floor in a lunge. If you need a cushion, you can always put it there. And we're gonna grab, again, a yoga block, a step stool for balance, or even a low chair if you need it. And you're gonna tuck your tailbone in a little bit and squeeze your butt to push your hip forward. I feel a nice stretch in the front of my thigh right here, but it feels like effort for me to hold it here. So I'm just gonna relax my hand down, and now I feel more supported, and I actually feel like my hip is gonna allow me to stretch a bit more than if I was trying to like hold it up like this, right? So stretches, you really wanna relax into the stretch and go within your comfort. If you're fighting the stretch, you may notice you're actually more painful after you stretch. And you know, the goal, we always look at goals. Our goals aren't necessarily to be a gymnast, it's to feel good in our bodies and to feel like we're mobile and strong and functional. So if your goal is to do the splits, then I might give you different cue for the stretch. But right now the goal is to kind of open up that hip and not feel like you're so stiff in that hip. This is really important for people who sit for work, but also who drive a lot, who, even if you're on your feet a lot, this might feel really nice to just get down to the floor. And it can also help to offload some stress in your back, because the hip flexor muscle actually attaches to your lower back, attaches to your lumbar spine. So a lot of the times when people have tension in the hip flexors, they can also have lower back pain. So this is a really, really nice stretch. And you're just breathing. We're gonna finish with an affirmation. You can say something out loud if you'd like. You can say, I have happy hips. Or I feel strong. I really like I feel strong. It's a very powerful message. And I really like to say that once I've moved my body and kind of built in a little bit of positive kind of endorphins, right? Your endorphins are released. You feel good. That's when you say nice things to yourself. I also really like the idea of like filming yourself after workout. So you get that positive energy and you tell yourself like, Melissa, I felt so good doing this. I want you to do the same thing again tomorrow. Do a little bit of movement tomorrow. And it kind of, tomorrow when you're like, I'm so not motivated or like, I'm busy, you can watch that and say like, okay, yesterday me after doing this felt so good. I'm gonna do this again. And so sometimes we need those little like tricks to kind of push us in terms of motivation until we start to build a regular habit and movement practice. Midday, I really think everyone needs a bit of movement, needs a break. Most people reach for coffees around 2 or 3 o'clock. Let's try some movement first and see how that feels, because that can be, sometimes that's what our bodies need. Our bodies need to like move, because we're not designed to sit all day at a desk or sit all day and nurse your baby or rock your baby, right? There's a lot of like sedentary stuff that we do during our days. I'm so glad to hear that, Melissa. Feels great. And Melissa, you'll see even in my base workout, some of these movements are repeated there, and I use weights with that one, but same thing, if you don't have your weights handy, you can still do all of those same moves, upper body, lower body, without the weights, and you'll still feel good. Yeah, I feel more energetic now. Like I'm not always energetic going into a workout, but every time I leave a workout, I do feel more energy. And unless you're doing like super high intensity or super intense, like long workouts, which if you're a mom, if you're in the postpartum space, is that what your body needs right now? You know, if you're lacking energy to begin with, we don't need to be overloading ourselves with like 60-minute workouts. Sometimes we just need something shorter and more efficient, combining a bit of that mobility stuff that I did at the beginning with some stretching at the end too. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for joining live. This was more fun doing it with people here too. And if this was good, let me know, so that I can do kind of more similar lives like this. I've done a lot of lives where I've like done education stuff, but I really want to build in a bit more movement to give you options of what to do during your day. Awesome. I'm going to go have some lunch. I have my postpartum return to exercise, getting my ass off the couch. You're so welcome. I'm happy to do that. Sometimes you just need that little kick and motivation, right? And it's just, we're all like that. You know, if I have a friend who's like, let's go do this now, I'm going to say, oh yeah, okay. And so sometimes it takes that, but record yourself right after this. And you know what? Send me your selfie, send me your sweaty selfie, and let me see how your glow on your face, because we just, we forget that we need the motivation and gold stars, not just our kids. So whatever gold stars you're giving your kids for pooping in the toilet or for being good or whatever, give yourself some kind of pat on the back. It doesn't have to be a gold star, but some kind of external feedback to keep yourself motivated at the beginning. Once the habit is built, you don't need as much external feedback. The way your body feels is the feedback. But in the beginning, sometimes having someone say, good job, or having someone you know, give you a bit of a high five can really be a motivator. I know it is for me. Awesome. I'm gonna head off and have some lunch, get some water, drink some water after this, and thank you so much for joining. Bye. Figure out how to save this too.